Double training days are very popular right now, and they can be an effective training tool if used properly. So in today's video, I'm going to break down the things that you need to consider. The internet, and myself included, will present double days to you on quite a regular basis at the moment. But as with everything, individual context is king. So you need to start by asking yourself, why would I train twice in one day and how often do I need to do it? We need to assess our training goals, the volume and intensity required alongside the practical implications. Because the internet told me to, or hustling and grinding, bro, are not valid reasons to do so. So don't be stupid. Like arguably building a mini ramp in your gym is stupid. And make sure that if you're trying to correctly train twice in one day, that you start by asking yourself the question if it's even logical to do so. So the second thing to consider is how important it is to structure your day. And I'm a huge fan of time blocking. I use an app called Motion to pull all of my diaries together, make sure the team's got visibility over them, and I count for every hour for the most part within the day. I don't put in travel time from the house and stuff like that. But on the screen for you now is what today looks like. Jamie's even sent a request for a burrito at 6:45 on account of the fact I'm keeping him here till 9:30. Because I've got a Modern Mind podcast recording with Dr. Robert Glover tonight at 8:30. If you didn't know that I had a podcast, it's called The Modern Mind. Channel link is in the description down below, and it's available on all major audio platforms. 102 episodes for you to choose from. But other than that, it just means that I've got total accountability, reduced distraction, and clarity throughout the day, which is the most important thing for me to be able to spot and time block my training in. Once the habit is built, it gives you loads of power over your time, your training, and your to-do list, which frees you up to get on with what's in front of you, free from distraction of everything else. Most importantly as well, it allows you to be realistic with what you can actually achieve within a day. This whole we've got the same 24 hours in the day thing is done to death, but you might be watching thinking, well, I've got 3 kids. Who's this young gun talking about all this stuff? Must be nice. Valid. That means that you need to look at the gaps in your diary and figure out what works for you. And Johnny, my business partner, who does frequent double days, usual before and after working hour times, has 4 kids. So unless you've got 5 kids or more, you can't comment anything on that down below. Long story short, structure your day, have a system, have something to improve clarity, reduce distraction, and make yourself accountable to, and that will keep you right so that you can spot the gaps for when you need to get double training days in. So now is as good a time as any to talk about point number 3, which is the importance of hydration and nutrition. I have just consumed my lunch without showing you it, which isn't very YouTube friendly, but that's because the camera that Elliot is currently holding was in use in the podcast studio with Jamie and Johnny. I had a chicken breast, sweet potato mash, and a pot of gravy, which feels a little bit KFC bargain bucket-like, but nonetheless, it was delicious. Double days, really, really important to get some food on board as soon as you finish training so you can instigate recovery and make sure that you're replenishing your sources ahead of second training session later in the day. You don't want to fall behind at all because it just means you're going to feel a bit rubbish going into your second session, which could affect performance, which might make you second guess your programming, which might mean that you just go back to the drawing board, as a lot of people tend to do. If you are trying to nail 2 sessions in one day, you need to give yourself the best chance of doing so, and that is making sure you're consuming adequate calories, carbohydrates, and making sure that you're keeping things topped up as you go, whilst hitting a clear protein intake as well. I've had my lunch just now. I had some oats, some whey, and some frozen berries after my training session this morning. I'm gonna wash my lunch down with a My Protein brownie. I'll have one of these pretty much every single day in the office, as it's always well stocked. And I have been sipping on My Protein electrolytes throughout the day as well, and we are heading to the, hit my hat, forgot I had a hat on. Heading to the track later on, which means I definitely don't want to fall behind on my hydration, otherwise I will just feel terrible. I've made that mistake in the past where I've sort of got a bit complacent with my food and hydration throughout the day, maybe had too much caffeine, and it just means that the second session is going to be a mess. And you want to manage the demand that is coming from 2 sessions in one day even more closely than any guesses for 1 session in one day. So if you want to grab any things to do exactly that for My Protein, there's a link in the description down below. You can use the code Fergus to save yourself some % off and support the channel in doing so. But the salient point here is really plan your nutrition during the day as you would plan your time blocking, your structure, your routine, like I covered earlier, by making sure that you've got everything that you need so you can get some food in you straight away, so that you can consume stuff steadily throughout the day without any issues with access or convenience, and make sure that you're sipping on adequate hydration sources. Whether that's inclusive of electrolytes or not is up to you and your sort of sodium requirements and sweat volume, etc., etc. So I'm sure anyone watching this video, if you're considering double days, you should have a pretty good grip and understanding of your nutrition. So make sure to keep on top of it. Don't get complacent and plan it out so that you are optimizing what you can around a double training day. Hope that makes sense. Let me know if you've got any questions down below. Plot twist, in true Edinburgh Leisure Council fashion, phoned ahead, checked the opening times online as we always do, and it's locked because there's a game of football going on in the middle of the track. Cup finals Wednesday, Friday for the next 3 weeks. So cheers Edinburgh Leisure once again for having absolutely useless systems so that anyone can plan around anything. So we're going to head back to the office and probably use the canal for road reps, but I felt it would be wrong to not flag just how inefficient the systems are. So it's not even that frustrating because it's almost expected at this point. But if anyone from Edinburgh Leisure is watching, please improve your systems. Thanks. Okay, so the whole time I was talking to you out there, the mic receiver had died and we didn't realise. So you've probably at this point seen some footage of me silently moving around the place and talking about God only knows what, but that means that you're going to get 3 points in one sat right here. So the next thing to consider is preparation. I'm at risk of sounding like your mother here, but lay your stuff out the night before, make sure all of your laundry is done, make sure that if you've got a pair of 2-in-1 shorts, make sure that they're clean, make sure that you've got everything ready to go and there's no guesswork on the day. If you're trying to fit 2 sessions into a busy day, then the last thing you want to do is create any friction, any guesswork, wonder where anything is. Make your own life easy. Difficult evening for an easy morning, easy day. However you want to frame it, preparation is key. Believe it was Alex Hormozy that said 5 minutes of preparation ahead of a meeting makes you seem like the most intelligent person in the room. Not the exact same setting, but I think the same can be applied to nailing your logistics when it comes to training twice in a day, or even 3 times in a day. Whatever floats your boat. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Okay, the next thing is a question that I get asked all the time, and that is whether you should prioritize lifting or running first within the context of a day. And I'm gonna explain that in a second from my perspective, but if you want more detail, head to the video that's on the screen here, which is on specifically that, a clip from the Mark Bell Powercast that I was fortunate enough to be on in early 2023. So for me and for all of our Omnia athletes, we will always recommend prioritizing lifting first within the context of a day, and any endurance volume comes second within the context of a day. There is research on the interference effect that supports that, but for the most part, most of you don't need to worry about the interference effect because it's only really applicable when you're really pushing top end. But generally speaking, the logic is that the degradation that comes from the repetitive motion of running translated into lifting will have more of an adverse effect than the other way around, whereby let's imagine a set of 3. You've got a heavy set of 3 at 90% of your 1 rep max. That is 3 focused exertions of power and force and focus that is required, which is going to be more adversely affected from a skill, proprioception and actual output with fatigue from lots of repetitive motion over and over again. If your cadence is 180 strides per minute, that is a lot of repetitions. So I've always seen massively positive results, our athletes have always seen massively positive results, and a lot of the science generally supports prioritizing lifting over running within the context of a day. But what I will say is that is only if that is what is practically suitable to you, the individual. Consistent, logical, intentional forward motion is what will get you progress, not constantly analyzing the granularity in these things as people have a habit of doing. The next point feeds on from the last one in many ways, and that is the importance of making your own training accessible to you. We all have a pretty good understanding of what a regular week looks like, how far away the gym is from us, what days we might need to pick up children, what days we might end up working longer hours, what days our wife would like to be a date night, what days you have your bridge club. Whatever is going on, you have a understanding of your structure. I would assume if you've made it this far in the video, which means that you have a lot of control over where you can find the gaps to put in the training. You need to be realistic. Just because you want to be training twice a day or feel that you could or should be training twice a day doesn't mean that that's possible or logical. I don't need to emphasize the points I've already made on why that's the case, but if you know that the swimming pool is half an hour away and that's going to be a big commitment, then maybe that's something you do as a single training session. If you need to pick your kids up on a Tuesday evening, then don't go to the swimming pool on a Tuesday evening. Rearrange your week around what's accessible and practical and work with your lifestyle and schedule and not against it. You need to reflect on your own individual circumstances, what you're training towards, and then you need to have clarity on how to get there. You need to have clarity on where the gaps are, and then you need to structure it in so you don't give yourself any wiggle room. Very important at this point to mention that if you do have partners, if you do have kids, it's helping them understand why this stuff's important to you, and then working within the family unit, within whatever unit you operate within, to be realistic about what is actually achievable. You might want to qualify for the Ironman World Championships, but you might also work for Goldman Sachs. It's going to be difficult to do both of those things at the same time, and if you do manage to do both of those things at the same time, I'm going to take a guess that your personal relationships will suffer, your mental health might suffer, and then what's really the point in training for something big and intimidating anyway? So if anyone is watching that's qualified for the Ironman World Championships and also happens to work for Goldman Sachs, please do share your thoughts and opinions down below. But I hope that last point isn't too convoluted. I'm quite tired at this point in the day, and the pivoting that we've had to do maybe means that these points aren't as well delivered as I hope they would be. But it is 7:26. I need to shower, nail a burrito that I have on the way from Deliveroo, and then I'm going to be sat here at 8 p.m. for a podcast with Dr. Robert Glover, which you can check out on the Modern Mind YouTube channel, linked in the description down below. That is 6 things to consider as to how you can correctly train twice in one day. Understand your circumstances. That's the most important thing. So hopefully that's been insightful. Please do make sure to like the video, comment with your thoughts, feelings and or suggestions down below, and make sure to hit subscribe. Check out all of the links in the description and stuff that I've referenced throughout the video. That would be massively appreciated. And I will see you next time, hopefully with a functional, fully charged microphone receiver. And Edinburgh Leisure, if you're listening, a reliable timetable for the track. Thank you.